Fantastic. I think we are live here on Facebook. My name is Meg Garvin. I am the Executive Director of the National Crime Victim Law Institute, NCVLI for short. And I am here with my amazing colleague, Helene Davis. I'm going to first introduce you to NCVLI generally, and then I'm going to ask Helene to introduce herself a little bit. Again, Meg Garvin, she, her pronouns. I have been with NCVLI since the year 2003. It has been an amazing journey as the National Crime Victim Law Institute has worked to elevate survivor voices in our justice systems. We have a particular focus on elevating survivor voices in criminal justice to ensure that they are empowered. In short, we work to put the apostrophe back in victims' rights to make sure that the survivor owns their own story, owns their own voice. And we do that through legal advocacy, educational efforts, which means training all over the country. And then we do public policy work too. So we work all over the country, really trying to build capacity so that survivors in every corner of the country can access a knowledgeable lawyer and or advocate to help them as they navigate criminal justice. We don't do direct legal services for survivors, but we help ensure that communities can have knowledgeable lawyers and advocates doing the work. So Helene, I said I've been here since 2003, but you've been here since we started. You helped found NCVLI. Would you introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, thank you. My name is Helene Davis. I currently live in Henderson, Nevada. I began my journey in the criminal justice system following the murder of my son in 1989. I started off as an advocate, as a support group person, then became a victim advocate, worked around the state of California for quite a while. And I stumbled almost onto NCVLI. I got a surprise call saying, will you come, to consider being a board member? And after the description of the program, I thought the man was crazy. And I said, lawyers caring about what happens to victims, that kind of thing just does not happen. And so I went up. I became a member of the board, and I've been there as long as Meg. So it's been quite an evolution watching what has happened in victim services over the years. Amazing.
Well, Helene, will you tell us a little bit about that? I introduced the idea that NCVLI does legal services, education, policy, but you've seen the evolution in victim services generally and NCVLI specifically. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, it was amazing. And I guess it's the reason why I felt the idea of lawyers being concerned about victims was so ridiculously crazy, was because I kind of walked that path alone. At the time of my crime, there was not even a lot of court accompaniment for victims as they went through a criminal case. And there is probably nothing more confusing than the criminal justice system, and probably the justice system, period. For one, there is not really a lot of consistency state to state. And as a victim at the most horrific time in your life, you don't know where to go. You feel totally unsupported as you travel this path. And so that was one of the reasons why I got involved with the support group, because I wanted to do that court accompaniment if a person needed it, or help write that victim impact statement, that kind of thing. And even though I was doing that when I first started with NCVLI, it was a shock to me just how different state to state laws were. And I'd be sitting at home fussing at my TV about, that's not right. You can't do that. And then I discover when I talk to you or someone else that in that particular state, that was correct. So I guess what happened when I went to the first meeting and we started talking about the mission and the goals and the whole idea of having that third table in the front of the courtroom that was there for the victims, it was just amazing to me that that concept could fly. And yet over the years I've seen it. We haven't quite reached the area where we have that third table, but we have those constitutional laws that make it possible that if it doesn't happen the way it should, there's something to stand on, to go back and say, no, you didn't do this correctly. The first conference we had was primarily lawyers and a few advocates, and through the years, first of all, we were like 63, 65 people, and like before COVID, we had over 400 at a conference. This year, we did a combination of live and hybrid, and we still had probably at least 200 or so people participating. And so it's great to see both lawyers and advocates working together to accomplish some things, and people being able to share the this works, that works, and this does not, it doesn't fly, don't try it. That kind of give and take has been so exciting for me to watch.
I couldn't agree more, Helene. I remember when I first started, the combination of lawyer and advocate in the same room, the energy that you can get from combining kind of the amazing skill set of advocates with the amazing skill set of lawyers. That's what survivors need. They need
Yes.
both. They absolutely need both. And NCBLI has really been able to work on its litigation work, but always informed by advocacy. And then our education is advocacy first, informed by law. And so it's this really wonderful way of ensuring that survivors are empowered as they navigate the system that, as you said, is so hard. So when you think about the legal side of it, and why legal advocacy is so important, what are your thoughts on why legal advocacy is so important? Or if you look back, would you have wanted to have a lawyer with you?
Yes. If not in the court with me, I would have liked for someone to have been able to meet with me, to explain to me what to expect as I went through the process. And I have to step back a little bit right here and say not just the immediate process, but the process in total. I know, like, to have had someone there to explain what to expect, to be able to say, I think, to begin with, to realize that when you're in a court, that prosecutor is not representing you. That is probably the most jarring piece of your first time in a criminal court. He's representing the state. So therefore no one's representing you. And often, especially with homicides, families, children, parents are not seen as victims. So no one was really capturing that whole idea of how vicariously victimization just spreads, often through whole communities. So I would have loved to have had someone there, that I could talk to. I mean, I've been lucky because I've been involved with you guys, that when something doesn't seem right to me, I will grab one of you on the phone, usually you, Meg, and say, Meg, this happened. I don't think it's right. And then you can tell me if it is, why, or if it isn't, what you could maybe take a look at and explain to me. So, and I think one of the ways that NCBLI has really helped with that has been the creation of Never. Because right now, for those who don't know, Never basically is a system for pro bono lawyers. And there are lawyers pretty much across this entire country that will help represent people in court. So even though NCVLI does not go into the court to represent people, a pro bono lawyer assigned or given the case through NCVLI can do some of that process. So I would have loved to have had that, even up until the post conviction area for my case. It is not easy to sit through 9 parole consideration hearings, but I had 2 offenders, 5 hearings for one, 4 for the other. That was one of the hardest things for me to do, especially since this is happening 12, 13, 14 years after the crime, when I think I've moved past how horrific everything was, and then it's right back there. So NAVRA itself has been just an amazing thing for me to watch.
And that's part of our evolution, has been realizing that we need to rope in and get volunteers for NAVRA, the National Alliance of Victims' Rights Attorneys and Advocates. And we're here today on Giving Tuesday because we need support. We need support so that we can stand with the lawyers who raise their hand and volunteers and the advocates, and so that we can be ready to support them. Today on Giving Tuesday specifically, we're trying to raise $5,000 today. That's not a lot, right? But it'll buy so much in legal services and legal support for survivors across this country. Helene, when you think about a donation to NCVLI, what do you think the benefits of it are?
I think the greatest benefit to me is to help create additional resources, to make those things available online. I know probably a lot of people may not have gone on NCVLI's website, but it's an incredible resource database, and what it can tell you is just amazing. And I think donations, of course, we have a lot of funded programs, but those are funded specifically for some of the work that we're doing, the actual physical work, to help create some of the resources that we have. Is actually quite different, and it's a whole nother pool of dollars. And it doesn't have to be large donations. It can be just a few dollars. I mean, let's face it, in this country, we helped elect the president with $5 donations. So it is possible to actually fill some of those little cobbles of money by small donations. And so I'm hoping that people will donate that way, so that we can continue to refresh those resources, and continue to reach out to across the country. In fact, truthfully, we don't talk about it a lot, but NCVLI is pretty much around the world. We've been in other countries trying to help develop some things. And one of the biggest things we've done here in this country is make some of the resources and the trainings available to the military, which has become a big partner for NCVLI. And we read in the paper every day about some of the things that are happening. So the fact that it helps to reach out, to provide that resource for people, to get those lawyers to actually help make that toolkit for our lawyers and advocates is just amazing.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Helene. And the idea that every donation counts is so true. This fundraising season, what we are trying to do is fill the gaps. We have grant funding, but we want to be able to serve every survivor, every advocate, every lawyer serving a survivor anywhere in the country or in the world as we're working on this. And so we need your help. We're $1,000 towards our $5,000 goal today. And we're just going to ask folks on this Giving Tuesday to think about how you, even with your pocket change, can help empower a survivor by donating today, and pass along this video, pass along the link to the Facebook Live, and pass along NCBLI's website to others, so we can start empowering every survivor and make sure they have the apostrophe on their rights. Victims' rights need to matter. So thanks for joining today, Helene. It was fun to talk with you, and have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.